Good afternoon, everybody, and you are very welcome to today's live webcast. And yeah, big topic today, coming out of lockdown, coming out of trauma. And I am joined by Jo Power, psychotherapist, originally from Tipperary, but joining us from Cyprus, her new home place. But Jo also works with Irish Counselling Online Ireland, should I say, and you will find them online, where they provide online counselling services. And that is how I connected with Jo. Jo, you are so welcome to today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Barbara, for having me.
Delighted not at all, not at all. And see, distance, no trouble anymore now in our new life, our new normal, and this has become part of it, connecting online.
Yeah. And I mean, it's something that I would have been a little bit nervous about before, because I would have been seeing clients face to face. And I remember the first time when people said you've got to do online work now, I just thought, oh my God. But once I started doing it, it was absolutely amazing. And I can understand why a lot of young people like this social media, and when you get better at it, it just becomes more easier, and you just see the person like as if they are in your office, and it just feels the same feeling and everything. It's in fact, sometimes it's better because you see the face and the gestures and everything, and it brings back a lot more to you. You feel that you're connected more with the client. That's my experience anyway.
Yeah, and I think sometimes what it can be because, well, the client is actually still in their own space. They haven't had to leave. So, you know, both people are more comfortable because they're coming from their own physical space as well.
That's another very good point, because a lot of times clients would say to me, can you come to my house? And you're not supposed to go to their houses. But this is a lovely way now. It's the best of both worlds. You know, your lovely compromise.
So coming out of lockdown, when we were chatting the other day, like it was, you said it yourself, we are actually coming out of a trauma, and we know and acknowledge it has obviously been an awful lot more traumatic for a lot more people than others. So, you know, we know that is there. But for everyone now trying to grapple with coming out of it, and like we don't know what we're facing, and our mind it's all over the place with do we not, can we, will we, should I, and all these questions constantly.
Yeah. And I think it's all kind of, you know, you have to look at your stamina about it all, how you're actually going to be able to relax and say to your brain, because the human brain is constantly scanning for danger. We're born with this brain. We have the fight, flight, and the third one, freeze, which the polyvagal comes in with. Stephen Porges has discovered with trauma, and this is what we're all going through now. Because it's so uncertain, we're not sure what's happening. So we're all in one of those phases, and a lot of people, you know, they just don't know what to do, and they feel like, you know, well, do I conform? Do I go along with what everybody else is doing? Do I ignore it? And this is why you have such a mix match of things going on today. Some people are wearing masks and, you know, cleaning your hands, washing hands and everything. And then other people are just completely they're just ignoring it. And that's their way of coping. And people sometimes would be hard on them and might say, well, why don't they get it into their head? That's how their brain is coping because of the trauma.
Yeah, it's kind of, because it's such a big shock, they shut themselves down, and that's their coping mechanism, but it just doesn't sit in sync with how others are coping, as you say, wearing the mask or whatever. And like that, you know, because when you think of it, all our interactions that we would have had, and we wouldn't have given a second thought to.
Yeah.
It's now that's all changed. You know, there's this kind of gap in the middle.
Yeah.
And we're trying to join the two. You know, our habits were that way. But what now?
Yeah, and I think it's the whole uncertainty about it. People just don't know, what way are we supposed to act? Are we turning into computers, robots? You know, it's kind of like now we're working a whole complete different way. Our head is being told one thing, and the governments and everybody is telling us you need to do this, you need to do that, and we're trying to, our logic side of us is saying, well, okay, if I do this, I'm safe. And then you're looking on the other side and you're seeing people that have been doing it and there's still deaths, and sicknesses and more cases, and you're saying, well, you know, the confusion is there. Do I continue to do it, or do I just pull back and say, well, what's the point? People are dying. I have no control. When in fact, we do have control, and it's about what you feel, what you can control yourself. And this is where I always say to people, it's about looking after yourself first and try and take control of what you can do. So you're keeping yourself safe by wearing your mask, washing your hands, keeping your distance, and if there are any kind of symptoms or whatever, you're getting checked. So then by you doing that, you're helping everybody else because you're more in control of your actions and what you're doing, and then you actually feel safe. You say, well, the scientists, the medical profession, they're doing the research, they're doing what they can, so it's my responsibility to do what I need to do in order for me to stay safe, and for the people I love and the people I care about and anybody that comes into contact with me to stay safe. And just to be able to do that, you know, in a relaxing way, not to panic about it, you know, because yeah.
And that's, and as I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, and what we're doing is that, like, we have to create a whole new set of habits for ourselves, because habits we would have had practically, you know, born with these habits. They were nearly traits that we inherited. All of a sudden, we have to let go of and start developing new habits. And I think, I know myself, it's, you go to do something, kind of go, and I can't do that anymore. You know, like I would automatically, I'm a hugger, you know,
right.
And it's, if I see someone, I put the arms out and I go, oh, how are, and the arms, and it's so hard to not do that.
Yeah, because that's the human, it's the social connection that we all want and we all need in order to survive. We're human beings, we're social beings, we have to connect. And this hugging, shaking hands, it's all second nature. Some nationalities are more huggers than others. Like, for example, over here in Cyprus, I'm full of a nation of huggers. And they would kiss on the cheek and everything. There's none of that now. And for a Cypriot not to be able to do that and, you know, say Ella, mon amour and everything, they just are, they're not able to. They're just hello, and texting each other, going on Skype, going on Zoom. And then when they see each other, a nod, and it just feels completely alien to them.
Yeah, and that human connection, and I think it's that lack of human connection. So we've lost that comfort of each other, which is actually a support. Also, that comfort is also a support to us when we can hug someone.
Yes, and especially when we need the social support aspect. I mean, what do you do when there's any crisis? You look at your support network. And if we don't have a good, strong social support network, then we're feeling very vulnerable, very left out. We get depressed, we get anxious, we get stressed. Think of it like with the older people that are on their own in a home and or just in their own house, and nobody comes to see them from one end of the day to the next. It's kind of like that, but kind of personified a little bit more, and everybody's there looking and saying, wow, is this how old people feel? Is this what it feels like to be on your own? And I think that's one of the positives we could actually, if you're looking at anything positive coming out of this, you can look and you can say that's something that has actually helped all of us, because now we're being put in the shoes of the vulnerable people, the people that are on the sideline. Like people that are minority communities, people that are the older people that don't have that social connection. So now people are actually being more generous, and they're thinking, oh, there's an old person down the road, I'll go and visit them. Have they got the shopping? How can they come out? They're over 70. They can't do the shopping. I see that a lot here in Cyprus. They're connecting with the older people, making sure that they have their banking done, their shopping done. We're doing a little bit of barter. Somebody goes down to the shop, they don't have whatever they want, and somebody else comes online and saying, I went down, I didn't have it. And they go, oh, I have it. So it's like, okay, I'll give it to you, you give it to me, we'll exchange. It's a little bit like going back to the metal idea. Do you know the metal idea, the old Irish word? You know, everybody, all the community coming together at harvest time and helping each other, which is something that to me that's what I'm seeing out of all of this. It's not all negative and negative. It's actually, there's a lot of positives.
And actually one of the big things, certainly, I know it happened around Ireland, but in the community where I am in Donegal, was all the chefs coming together, and the chef aid. And what they were doing was they were making sure that those who were isolated and locked down, particularly in rural Ireland, that they were having a dinner delivered to them each day, you know. And there was the Gardaí came on board, the local, you know, army. They, you know, they all came together to make sure. So in that sense, as much as we were all and still are all watching ourselves and how we think, it has had that knock on, as you say, of, well, hang on a second, I know I'm okay, but so and so isn't.
Maybe somebody,
or so and so.
And I think that's something that's lovely. It's kind of bringing back the human side of things. I see a lot more of that going on over here now. Okay, we're a small island, and we do seem to be a little bit ahead of a lot of other countries. We're kind of coming out of it a little bit, although nobody can say we're coming out yet, but it feels like we're kind of, things are actually a lot more easier for us. We're not as panicked. People are smiling more, people are joking. And this is the one thing I say to people as well. Humor is fantastic. If we want to think about something, I remember when it started off and we were all washing our hands, masks and everything you touch, wash, spray and everything. And I thought instantly of, do you know the program Monk? He's a detective and he goes around, he's got OCD. And he's watching the lines he walks on, and he's unbelievable, very clever person. But I thought, oh my God, we're all turning into monks. Not, you know,
everything was, because everything was, you were washing your groceries coming in, and some people still do, I know, you know, taking them out, leaving them dry and doing all of that. And that brings us back to the habits, because now, as I say, that wouldn't have been something that we would have done before all this happened. Now we have to mentally create space to make those new habits and to remember, you know, the new, and that takes time, and it's tiring. It's exhausting when people are trying to maintain that constantly, because it's a complete, that word pivot, I actually hate the word at this stage, but it is a complete pivot for people, even in their home.
And when the exhaustion of all of that, how it affects our brain, our mental state and everything, it's like, oh my God, when is it going to end? And again, it's about taking a step back. I tell people, you've got to start breathing. Do your calming breaths, do some mindfulness work, do some meditation, go out into nature, have a little walk, go look at the trees, go for a walk with your dog, even just, you know, like they do in older care homes, and they have a dog or animals to pet, just to calm a person down. Do a lot of that and talk to your animals, and the voice that you're using to talk to your animal is actually a voice that your brain is recognizing, like a little lullaby your mother would have sang before when you were a child. And we have that kind of intonation there, and it just completely relaxes our brain. So then instead of being in the trauma side, our brain starts to ease down, and it says, you're telling your brain, I'm okay, I'm safe, everything is okay. It's not as bad as what, I'm thinking it is. I have control. I have control over what I can do in order to keep me safe and to keep others. Just trying to normalize it.
Yeah, because the way things are going, I mean, I stopped watching myself now. I stopped watching the news unless there were kind of big announcements coming up, and we knew that there was something going to be announced, and that was fine. But it got to the point where I actually had to turn off the news, because I found, okay, you're thinking globally, what's happening globally around the world. And then you kind of say, okay, well, I can't do anything about that globally. And then you start looking, say, at Europe. And then you're going, okay, well, what's happening in Europe? So you've taken it down another step. And then I kind of say, no, hang on, what's happening in Ireland? And I start trying to bring it down a step, just so that I could get some semblance of where am I at, through the whole thing with my family and whatever. I mean, I haven't seen my mother since the beginning of March, she's in a nursing home, and the way things are and the timing and loads of things. But, well, physically, I've seen her on the screen time. I have to say, nursing home, brilliant having the screen time. But like that, you're trying to proportion it down just so mentally you can cope with it.
Yeah, and that's what's important, is to take little pieces. Don't look at the huge, big picture. Look at what little things that you can do, what you have a choice over. And I won't say control over, because none of us has really control over what's going on. We only have a choice over what we do about it and what our perception is about it. If we perceive a situation to be dangerous, we're heightening that in our brain. So we're sending out stress chemicals all throughout our body because of that. But if we actually send out and say, I have a choice here, I can keep as safe as I possibly can with all the information that's been given to me and the resources that I can use. And then you're giving that message then to others by you doing it. Do as I say and do as I act, So it's kind of like everybody is following suit and doing it. Is it the right way? But it's a way that's more comfortable and easier for people. It's kind of in that sense again. So taking your step back and slowing everything down. It's going too fast. Just slow it down.
Yeah, it is. I find a lot of the time, certainly for myself, I'll end up just having to say, stop, just stand in the moment, even for 30 seconds, and just go, hang on a second. What have I to do? Where have I to go? Because I would find, like, the queues, there's still, you're queuing outside the supermarket still to get in, and you accept that, and it's for the benefit of you. Well, but if you see the queue too long, you say, well, I'll come back really early instead. There's still that little bit of, I'm not standing for 20 minutes. I'll come back. And I'd keep going back and forth until I see it's shorter or it's quieter, which is probably worse, because I would have had it done anyway in the first place. So you're kind of trying to temper the old habits. I wouldn't be a great queuer anyway. I'll admit that now.
No. I'm the same. It's kind of, in a sense, it's kind of like we're queuing and we know that we're going to get to where we want to get. But if you have so much other stuff going on in your head and what you have to do, then again, it comes down to choice. I have the choice to stay here and to work myself up and say, oh God, I'm not going to get the next thing done now, and be angry at yourself and be angry with everybody in the queue. Or you have the choice to say, well, okay, I'll come away and I'll come back again, and I'll have done the other jobs and I'm okay with it. Again, it's about pacing ourselves, and not beating yourself up and saying, I have everything to do and I need to do it now. Because in society today, this is what society is about. Everybody's rushing. Everybody's trying to be somewhere half an hour before they should be there. Okay, it's nice to be on time and everything. I'm not saying that, but sometimes it's just unavoidable. And in this situation, it is. So everybody understands, which is good. And we just need to give ourselves a break.
Yeah, and that was something, as you said earlier on, when you're, taking that few minutes to yourself and time out. What it has done also, it has forced people to slow down. And with the result then, we've become more aware of even things like the environment. I mean, if you were online and you'd say you're reading posts, actually there's a factory, in fact, there's a factory near where I am now. Right. And I'd never actually heard any noise coming from it because everything is so busy. But going for a walk in the evening, that in our allotted amount of kilometers, can't remember what it was it 2 kilometers or something at the very beginning?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
There was a hum, and I kept going, saying to my husband, what's that hum? And as we got to the top of the road, that's actually the hum of the factory. The sounds, the birds, the smells, even the scent, you just became so much more aware. It was like, for me, I was kind of going, wow, it was a real eye-opener.
Yeah. Yeah. And isn't it nice to actually to have?
Yeah, no, it is. It's fantastic because your reality was nearly forced on you. This is actually where we're at. This is where I am. And yeah, I'm kind of working at a 1/10 of the speed that I was.
Yeah. And is it any harm, really?
You see, this is it.
Yeah. And it's doing a lot of our mental health actually a lot better. People are slowing down. Our blood pressure is dropping. People aren't as stressed. So, again, it's going back to choice. It's how you perceive it. If you look at it and say, okay, everybody has this, again, that phrase, we're all in it together, which drives me a little bit cuckoo. But I mean, it is in the long run, like it is that we have to actually take it as a group, as society, as the whole planet, and say, okay, look, we have choices. We can do this, or else we can be completely stressed out and anxious because we're not able to get deadlines met and everything like this. I mean, who can get deadlines met in this environment? We can't. So we just have to put it to one side and say, I'll do what I can do in what I have, what my resources are for this. And I should be happy with that. So in other words, if we're content with the effort that we put in, then that's as good as what anybody can actually accept or can afford to give. And that's, to me, that's really the end of it. What's our version of okay, that I'm happy with, is what you say.
Yeah, so, and that kind of comes down to things, as we'd say, our needs and our wants. Is that where, we'd always say, oh, well, I really want this or I really want that. But actually now people are kind of looking at, well, do I actually need it? Because I already have, X, Y, Z. And in fact, yes, it's a want, but I'm quite content with what I have. So even our perspective on things, our wants and our needs, even they're coming back to, I suppose we're questioning ourselves more on that.
Yeah. And it's nice that we can actually to look at it and say, they're the nice qualities coming back, the more human qualities, the qualities of compassion, self-compassion for yourself. And then when you have that for yourself, you can be compassionate towards others, because if you're practicing it, then you have to see the light through the compassion in other people's eyes. And that calms people down then as well.
Yeah. So before we wrap up now, what couple of tips would you say to people now? Just think, some people, they'll get themselves into an awful panic, thinking of different things as, another phrase that's used now, moving forward. I was trying to think of a better one. I'm awfully sorry. But what kind of tips now as we progress through this would you give to people watching now? 2 or 3 little tips that they can just take away and start to practice.
Right. The one thing is breathing. Do your breathing from your abdomen. You know, but if anybody does yoga or does any kind of breathing like this is very good. If when we're all exercising, 5 minutes before you exercise, do a 5-minute meditation, a breathing meditation. Then do your exercise, and then directly after you come back, do another 5-minute meditation. And it's been proven that has actually doubled and even quadrupled the effect of the exercise, not just physically on our body, but mentally as well. We actually feel better mentally. Another one is Kelly McGonigal's 3-step approach on how to deal with uncertainty. Ruth Buzinski has a lovely piece online. You can go on YouTube and you can watch that. It was actually for teenagers. Parents were struggling with their teenagers and wondering how can we help support them through university and whatever. And she said it can work with everything when we're uncertain about anything. And Ruth herself said, well, this is very apt actually for the COVID, because there is that big uncertainty. What do we do? How do we cope? So that's a lovely piece. She's a lovely lady, actually, Kelly. And then there's another one, Jack Cornfield, Mindfulness, Self-Compassion. Beautiful. He's a lovely person to listen to, a calming person. Thomas Hubble, he does some meditation as well, breathing mindfulness meditation. Lovely person too. Peter Levine, opportunities on how to calm yourself, self-soothe, because we're all kind of struggling. How do I calm myself down? He has some beautiful work online. And all of these are free resources you get online.
And that's the thing, which is great. And online actually provided so much relief for so many people and provided so much connectivity for people because they were isolated. But your website was up there, and we'll pop that up again for anybody that wants to get in touch with you directly or through the Counselling Online Ireland website. As I say, Jo does work with them here and provides counselling online that way. And I say we have, quite a few comments have been popping up and down there too, Jo. So I'm sure an awful lot of people got an awful lot from what you were saying, and that, if we stop, think, ground ourselves as to where we are, we will, be able to get ourselves forward. Yeah, meditation is more grounding than we think. Thanks, Tianda. I hope I pronounced your name correctly there. And great topic. Lovely to see you, Jo, from Sinead. I know you can see the post, and acceptance has been the key for me. So, Jo, look, it has been lovely chatting to you. Mary McHugh,
thank you, Barbara.
I told you she'd pop on.
Thank you, Mary.
But yes, thank you so much for coming on live today with us. I hope our audience enjoyed it. I know I thoroughly did. I didn't get through half the questions headings that I have listed here on front of me. And hopefully we will see you again soon, no doubt. Enjoy the weather in Cyprus. I believe it's beautiful there. We have sun in Donegal. Our tech support over in Europe, not so lucky. But for today, everybody, thank you very much. If you posted a comment, you will get a free download. And please, also, we have our very first mini summit webinar coming up on Wednesday evening, the 29th of July. The link is there in the comments, and it is to do workplace wellness. It's free, and we have some great speakers and all being finalized at the moment. So would love to see you all then. So cheerio, everyone, and I shall see you all on Tuesday. Jo, thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, bye-bye.